Yeah, good morning, Matthieu. I
Good morning.
yeah, I'm very happy that you finally said yes to our little chat. And yeah, today is a special day, but we come to this part a little bit later on. So maybe for those who don't know you, maybe you can give a short intro and what you guys are doing.
Okay. I'm Matthieu, founder of Pollen Robotics. We are really recently being acquired by Hugging Face. And before doing Pollen Robotics, I was a researcher in robotics at in RIA for 6 years. Then we started Pollen Robotics in 2016. And so it was 9 years ago. And now we are part of Hugging Face, and we are really dedicated to build open source robotics and open source software for robotics.
It's a great time, especially in robotics and especially in open source. You just said the partnership with Hugging Face or being acquired by Hugging Face, and this year I think is finally where robotic became mainstream. You can see it when you're on the fairs, on the exhibitions and conferences. Humanoid robots are everywhere. But maybe we can go back two more steps, and maybe you can tell me a bit about how you came to robotics, right? So a lot of people have engineering parents or brothers and sisters who are building stuff, or some
Mm.
people are just very curious on their own. So how was that for you? How did you came to robotics?
Okay, so on my part, I have no brother or sister, and my family is not at all in tech and science. So I'm the only one in this topic.
Okay.
And that brought me to robotics. I think is really I like to do a lot of different kind of stuff. I'm bored if I'm just looking for being one particular expert on one particular subject.
Hmm.
I prefer to have a wide spectrum of tasks, and robotics is really, I think, the best way to have this because you have all problems at once, and it's really uh, a domain with a lot of constraints coming from software, electronics, mechanics, user interface, physics, and so on. And you have to learn, you have to be good at all of this to be good at building robots. So we really have to learn all the time, all the time. Um, so I think this is really what make me want to go in this direction. And but when I was doing my studies, we didn't have so much robotics uh, curriculum. So my curriculum was on mechanical engineering,
Hmm.
and at the and we were really going deep into how we have to design wings of airplane to improve by 0.1% the efficiency. And this is not really that's something that is really interesting for me. I want to
Mm.
to do major breakthroughs and not just improving by smaller percentage. So I started to take other curriculum with more diverse topic and end up in the really important robotics lab in France, which is Flowers at INEA, doing mostly AI. And I think at the time I was one of the only one with hardware background. Um, it was really interesting to come with hardware background and see how hardware can be combined with AI to build new kind of robot.
And which
And
year is that? Which year are we talking here?
2010, so it was before
15
a lot
years
of
ago, before
yeah,
the hype.
long before the hype, yeah, yeah. And yeah, on my you asked about the family, but on this topic, I think what made me in the science stuff was just while I was kid, there was a lot of well, was playing a lot with Lego and building stuff always. So just it put me in this track early.
I mean, building and Lego is one of the things that I hear. I mean, this is episode, I think, 72. And I heard this very often that you're like building stuff very early on and having something physical in your hand and being able to put your imagination into the physical world. That was
Mm,
something that really drove people and says, okay, like I can create something, right? And either it is by code. So I have a lot of people that are
mm.
coming from the computer science, software development direction, but also hardware, right? So it seems like a pattern. Giving people Lego, kids Lego, is definitely something that enables the
Yeah,
fantasy. You know?
yeah. Lego and the computer. I was doing also Visual Basic programming when I was kid, so just was doing nothing really interesting, but just it put your brain into thinking about computer science, engineering, and so on.
So how did you make then the decision for mechanical science, even though you had been interested in, I don't know, let's say basic programming and yeah.
Well, I was also really interested into design, being an industrial designer.
Mm.
So uh, I was a bit between science and design at the beginning of my curriculum, and I just ended up choosing engineering because it was more safe to be impactful in this domain. Uh, Being a successful designer is really hard. You have one on million, but is really doing something impactful. And in science, it's more easy to do something useful. Uh, and so this was one of the criteria. But at the end, I kept the design aspect because now I'm also designer of robot. So now I can combine both in science and a kind of no, no, natural desire to do these beautiful robots and well-designed robots. And so it's really, I think I found the perfect track to really combine all that I want to do at the
Uh,
end.
I mean the so it seems like it was driven out of a rational decision, as you said, right? Competition in design is pretty hard, and I do
Mm,
like to do stuff anyways. And now being an entrepreneur for many years now you're finally in a stage where you can bring back an old passion and now having the opportunity to build something in
yeah.
a nice and good looking way. Yeah.
Well, at the time when I was in engineering, the industry was cars, automobile, and plane.
Mm.
So to become a designer for car industry or for plane industry, it's really something. There is one or two people
Yeah.
per brand, so it's really hard. But back in 2010, robotics is just really far from being an industry. It's still far from being an industry. So there, I was able to do both design, science, and really bring new thing. But yeah, bring new thing, being impactful and so on. Because there's just nothing. It's really easy to just bring something new.
I remember that I saw a short interview snippet with Steve Jobs, and he was talking about Microsoft. And in that snippet, in that little clip, he was telling that even though he thinks they are very strong in engineering, they lack of something, they lack of style. So there is no culture, there is no style, and he said that very early on he had always been interested in art, in design, interior, all these kind of things, and so that also helped him to have products that have. I mean, he said they are more than just products, right? It's not only about the functionality, it's also about nice to look at, nice to interact with, and being around that. So I think it's interesting to understand that you are not only have this engineering background, but a passion for design as well. So you said the decision was made a bit out of rational reasons, but afterwards, you said that you've been in research for a while. What made it? How did you make the decision to get out of research and doing something and becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, well, when I began my PhD thesis in flowers, so this was a research lab, I met Pierre, which is still my co-founder now. So we are
Mm,
working together since 15 years. And during my PhD, I started a new project called Poppy. And
hmm
Poppy was probably the first open source 3D printed robot. It was really at the beginning of 3D printing era, and we used that to build open source robots. And at that time, it was for my PhD exploring locomotion, how AI and robotics can interact to build new kind of robot, and also how to sense the robot so the hardware is adapted for locomotion. So all this had a lot of sense to be built out parameter you can send a lens or whatever. But at the time, we try to also design a beautiful robot and an accessible one with simple API and so on. And on the software side, it was really an amazing job by Pierre and me on the hardware side. And when we released that, actually, yeah, it had a strong impact in the community.
mm.
And we released that in 2013. And really, I think we have sold 1 or 200 robots while being researchers. So it was really a long time ago, and we were two guys in the lab at the time, and we are against somehow now, and at the Baron Robotics, who were a big company, and I
So
think
how did you
we
manage?
really,
How did you manage like being in the lab, being a researcher, and then I mean 200 is not a small number, especially for like two people, right?
yeah,
Um,
we did a partnership with a French company called a French robot distributor,
mm,
Génération Robot. So we were not selling ourselves, but we provided to Génération Robot that was selling the platform. It was a kit, so we just designed everything and built the kit, the documentation to build the robot and so on. Uh, and then we did another robot, more educational. This there is a lot of units also, maybe 1,000, I don't know, lot of them. Um, but we were both researcher and kind of entrepreneur because we were just shipping web product.
yeah.
And it was really cool. So we wanted to continue to do that. Uh, Also, being in the research lab is not really the best way to build hardware product. It's not made to do that. The administration is not, and the bureaucracy is really a pain to build stuff like this. It was always difficult to do that. And when we started the company, it was really way more easy to just build stuff as fast as we can. Yeah.
So you finished the degrees, or and then you said, okay, let's not continue staying in academia and let's build a company, let's incorporate a company, let's find a place where we can stay, and then let's maybe hire a few people. I remember that I had Nicolas Robot on the
Mhm.
podcast a few months ago. And I think he said a little bit about this as well, this period of time. I don't know exactly where he fit in, but this transition from academia and, as you just said, shipping products. There's a huge difference between making some research and working on a project for a certain time and then making the transition to go into the industry and building a product that potentially some people need to buy to continue doing that.
Mm.
Did you get some help? And today there's a lot of accelerators for startups and university programs. How is it back then with you guys?
We were mostly alone at the time. Uh, and also, we are not in Paris, so it's harder.
Ah,
In France, it's really concentrated. Everything is concentrated in Paris, and when you are not in Paris, you're not you're
you're not.
not in Paris. You know. So we were a bit alone for a long period of time, doing our own thing. Nobody understanding what we were doing and why we were doing that. I think we were a bit ahead of. We started too soon. I think really nobody was understanding what, what we were trying to do. And now it make a lot of sense now what we were doing at the time and what we're doing now. But yeah, maybe we started 10 years too soon or 5 years too soon.
Mm. The question is,
Uh,
if you would have done something else, then you most likely would have stick with the other one, right? Because it took you to the stage where you are able to do the things that you do today.
yeah. But we had an acceleration in 2020. Uh, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe we could have started later and we'll be okay. Or still be okay now. Um, yeah, because I think before Elon Musk said let's go humanoid, just a lot of people were not being in what we were doing. So we actually lived for at least 6 years without raising funds, just by shipping product and shipping. So we bootstrapped the company. And then we finally find someone to add a bit of money, but it was in 2022, so 6 years after so it was really late. And actually, at the end, we really not raised so much money for to build Pollen. We mostly win money by shipping product or by the most the biggest funding we got was from X Prize. So we participate in a international competition on teleoperated humanoid robot, and we won the second place with $2 million. So it was a good price at the time, given that we had maybe I don't know 20K on our bank account. So it was really a big difference.
How big was the team back then? Because you said that you've been doing this for 6 years before finally some traction.
Yeah, yeah, we were about 10 or 12 people.
It's
We,
impressive bootstrapping
mm,
a small company for such a long period of time with not only like 2 or 3 people, but like 10 people.
mm,
Um, Crazy.
yeah, yeah. Hard as well. Really hard. Yeah.
But you made it through.
Mm,
So when I mean, one of the reasons why I have this podcast is to understand what makes a founder, and not necessarily successful, because there's different criterias for what is successful, right? But for building this kind of companies, and you just said some things, and I derive some assumptions here, but maybe you can clarify this a bit more. I mean, doing this for 6 years, there's just a few things that I can imagine make you do this. First, you love it, right? You just love what you do, so you're not really caring, do I get millions out of it, or I have a day, I work on things I like to do, and I work with people I like to work with. So this is definitely something, but also the sheer perseverance and the grit. Like I know this will work somehow in the end, and I know I need to endure this period of time. Have you been reflective like this, or how was that for you to go through those 6 years?
Well, first the team was amazing.
Mm,
So just you don't want to lose the team.
mm.
So this is a drive, a first drive. If we you, if you fail, the team is dissolved somehow. So this is a problem, and you don't want this to happen. So you, you do what you can to get money, get product, get stuff to go forward. So this is not happening. It's the same for the team, but we don't want to this to happen. So sometimes it was really hard, and people accepted to not be paid for a few months. So all the all team is in the same, really in the same determination, the same determination. Then you have also what you people that know you, that know your product, love that you exist because we were, I think, well, one of the only one really open source robotics company in the world. There's really few people like, few company like Pollen. And we were building really great stuff. So I think we were at the time. I was really convinced that we are doing something really good. So it was okay to continue and to try hard to make a thing happen. Uh, but yeah, we were in near-death experience for a long time.
You,
We
you
were
were
we were
meant,
li-
sorry?
yeah, we were living really at the edge of bankruptcy all the time.
You were mentioning something that a lot of people really underestimating because nowadays, to every fair you go, to every conference you go, you see humanoid robots, right? I mentioned this before. But just a few years ago, it was unimaginable, right? The
Mm,
software was not where it is today. AI was not where it is today. But even with hardware, no one was. I mean, you could have said, okay, the hardware was there. There's not too much jumps in hardware that happened in the last 5 years or 10 years, but no one assembled a humanoid, or not too many companies or people
mm,
assembled and came of the idea, let's pursue this, right? So Elon Musk definitely is one of the reasons why this became kind of mainstream, right?
mm.
Uh, how was that for you within the company? You mentioned earlier that a little bit more traction happened after 2020, 22. Um, could you feel, because you are very close to the community, could you feel that there was something shifting like
Oh yeah,
massively? Tell
oh
me
yeah,
about
that's
this.
it. Yeah, yeah, we were really alone until 2022 when we X Prize when we were second at X Prize. So X Prize was in competition with company, research lab, a lot of people selected about among a lot of people, a lot of research lab and so on. So it was normally the best company in 2000, the best project in 2022 to compete in this competition on the humanoid with teleoperation. So it's a good, an important thing like that. Um, and we were second, and we had no competition at the time on the company. We were the only company in the top 10. Um, we were the only company doing open source with a humanoid robot. And then a bit like when OpenAI released ChatGPT, so a few months later, uh, we see first a massive wave in AI, and so it's just changed everything, even for robotics. And then a few time later, just maybe 6 months or 1 year later, just one new humanoid robot being launched each week. Just yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah.
So yeah, so it was really impressive, and so all of these companies were also doing steam mode, I guess, for 1 year or two before. So between 2020 and 2023, yeah, he had a massive gap, massive shift into uh, the number of people working on robotics and the number of people wanting to ship robot and humanoid robot, and yeah, just one to 50 in terms of increase in just a few times.
The those years are not too far behind us, right? It's just a few years, but it feels like much longer. So it feels like there is what happened within those lives. I mean, I don't know the saying, but sometimes it takes decades to so something
Mm,
changes, and then within a few moments, decades change, right? Something like
mm,
that. And I hear of the feeling, and this is something like if you would be, I mean, because you have been in robotics so long, and you have been into open robotics so long, much longer than everyone else before the hype. I think in a few years, when we finally will have robots walking around among us, uh, looking back at that time will look in retrospective, right? It would look so amazing being in that time, being in so being part of zeitgeist, being part of something that happened. And as you said earlier, you made
mm,
the decision in university not going to design. You would like to have some impact, and you're being part of that impact, like really being one of the few companies, or yeah, one of the few very companies that brought open source robotics to the people, right? I mean, maybe it's very hard to think about this today as we are in this time, but I think in a few years' time it would be very interesting
mm.
to see this.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, it's like being there in the 90s when internet was coming, and I saw an interview of Bill Gates with during the Late Show or something like this, where he was pitching what internet and was is good, and was being mocked because people were not understanding what he's saying.
Yeah,
And it was just saying, and now it makes a lot of sense. And it was in 95, so it was just
30
five
years
years
ago.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just 5 years before the big, the first big bubble
Yeah.
in internet.
Earlier in this episode, we were talking, or we were hinting that something is happening today, right? Maybe after we leaving now the university times and the struggle with Pollen, the beginnings, you guys had been acquired by Hugging Face earlier this year. Amazing work that you guys are doing for the community, and keep doing for the community. But maybe you can tell me about what you guys are doing today, and what is happening. Why is today maybe a day that is special to your heart?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, but we started to work with Hugging Face 1 year ago, a bit more 1 year ago, especially with Le Robot and
Hmm.
Remy Cadin. Uh, and we really like it, the way Hugging Face work and the energy they have and their capacity to being a big company but still ship stuff and being really all the company is the culture of the company is really into autonomy and shipping. So it's really compatible with the kind of energy we want to have. At the time, it was the first time I saw a bigger company than us who were still in this mood.
Nice.
So it was really interesting to see that they managed to scale what we wanted to do with Poland. So naturally, when an opportunity to being part of Hugging Face was coming, for us it was just being, it was a shortcut. You see, uh, maybe I lost my connection.
No, I know you're back.
Yeah, I lost the connection, or it's okay. Yeah, yeah. So it was the shortcut to what we wanted to do with Pierre at Poland, but going faster to this point. Uh, And what's really fun is that what we are doing now is really like what we were doing at the beginning of Poland. We lot of projects that we were motivated that motivated the creation of Poland at the beginning, or project we are working right now on. thanks to Hugging Face, because we were working on a lot of open source useful stuff, but hard to make profit with, you know, because sometimes it's the software stack, so it's really hard to. You have to sell it really expensive or being open source and have a large community, and it's hard. But Hugging Face has this large community, so now uh, we can build stuff, open source stuff for a large community because we have Hugging Face is bringing this large community. So it's useful to do that. And we were also doing a lot more uh, accessible robot in terms of price and complexity back in the beginning of of Pollen, more consumer robot. And this was we did prototype, but it was really hard to just bring to bootstrap a company with this kind of product. You said you have to sell
Hardware is
them
hard.
die.
Hardware is expensive, right? So
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah.
So we end up choosing the humanoid, enfin, adult side humanoid. You can sell. It can be more expensive, so you can have margin, and this margin you can pay a salary and so on. But now we are part of a Hugging Face. We can launch all of these projects we had and wanted to do, but cannot do with the constraints we had. So it's really fun to see that when we were discussing with the merge with Hugging Face, how many times we just came back with the old project we did 3 years ago and said, we could do that now, we could do that now. So it makes sense now. It's really good. And the robot we are releasing today is one of them. It was a prototype we did before Witches, actually. It was called Bamboo at the time. And we just, yeah, a small companion robot you can put on your table and so on. At a time where AI was not there, so it was complex to have advanced advanced usage with it. It was not really good at that time, and at a price that is not competitive, that is hard to build a company on when you're a small company. And this now make a lot of sense. So very good.
This what you're saying. It seems like there's an old book in the corner, and I'm now making some stuff up. An old book, and you're putting away the dust with all the genius ideas and all the things you would like to do, but there's lack of resources and people and money and
Mm.
opportunities in general. And now a perfect partnership because Hugging Face, I think, is a US company, but I mean, it's very strongly European origin and especially French
Mm.
origin, right? So isn't it
Yes.
funny that from all the countries that are existing and working on those stuff, there is exactly Le Robot and then there's Pollen, and they're both French origin, and then coming together at the right time in that time frame to
Yes.
now launching old ideas and bringing them to life. I think this is beautiful.
I think there is a French culture for open source. Somehow. I don't know why, but a lot of important uh, open source um, open source software is being made by French. You can say also VLC, which is a really important
Yeah,
media is
classic.
French. FFmpeg is French. There is a lot of really important library being site IGAN is French. There's a lot of really. So I don't know. Maybe there is something in your culture that make us more willing to do open source.
I mean, the French Revolution is coming. It's a French Revolution, right? So
Mm.
it changed how things were back then. And I talked to a lot of founders, to a lot of startup, to a lot of accelerator programs, and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of things happening. Just later on today, I have a call with Adil. So he's putting anomaly space. So it's also enabling builders, enabling some people who are doing stuff. You just very roughly told me about what you're releasing today, but maybe you can give more one or two more insights for people who would like to see behind the curtain. So you said this is a project that has been in the making for quite a while now, right? Maybe you can give out some more insights or back, yeah, yeah, behind the scenes stories that people are interested in.
Um, well, we started with Pollen wanted to do open actuator, so we actually did that during the Orbita. I don't know if you know Orbita actuator, which,
Mm.
also sophisticated uh, actuator with parallel mechanisms. So you can have 3 degree in freedom and 2 degree in freedom. And this is
Hmm.
something we have actually built while bootstrapping the company. But now we are exploring more, doing open source actuator as well. And the robot we are launching today is Reachy Mini. Can I show you? Yeah, really a small robot that can hide itself. And this is really a project we had in mind for years. Might make a lot of sense. Uh, and this is really made to be an open source companion robot, uh, more for home, and to explore how Gen AI can be embedded in robotic shape. Um, I can show you if you want. Mhm. See, so this is really a small companion. It's about 28 centimeter, and has a camera, speaker, microphone, and really, again, I have multiple passion in my life. So I have design, and I have also parallel mechanisms. So I put them everywhere.
Okay. So
Don't
what
ask
can you do
why.
with it? What can you do with it? What is
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we have a steward platform in for the to animate the edge, so you can really move the head in all direction, and with 2 antenna can move. So it's really and it's really made to be really cute and interactive. And now it can be connected to Hugging Face Hub, so you can run any open source AI model on this robot easily. And what we want to do is and we plan to ship this at starting at $300, so it's really cheap. Uh,
this is really
and
affordable. This is
it's
really
really
affordable,
affordable.
right? So
Yeah,
this is really something that people can buy and this is crazy.
yeah. And and this will be a fully open source as well. So really the idea is to have a community-based robot, large community-based robot that you can expect with Hugging Face and this price. Um, to bring new application using AI and Gen AI embedded in a robot. So for me, it's a bit like where we know there is Alexa and so on, but this kind of product doesn't cannot move, cannot have doesn't have a camera, but this can be in a room, move around, see what is going, and take decision based on that. And it's really made to be interactive. So you're not speaking to a voice coming from somewhere, but you're speaking to an actual character. I think it's more on the user side. I think it's more practical and more natural to speak to a creature than to speak to AI coming from nowhere. So really, yeah, we want to be this. I see really this robot as a interface, physical interface with generative AI. globally. Yeah, it's not keyboard or it's not you have something an actual device to do that.
Um, I talk to a lot of startups, and it's always about how distribution is a big topic, right? And one of the hype words was in the last few years was always disruption of a new market and a disruptive technology. But disruption comes from adoption, right? So it can be the most disruptive technology. If no one is using it, it's worthless. So I mean, this is just my feeling, right? So I have no capacity, I have no expertise here to give any predictions. But for me, this seems to something that can has globally impact on a cultural level. So having I mean, you can see. I talk to people that are not related to any automation, manufacturing, robotics, AI, not at all. But they use ChatGPT for how to cut the trees in my garden, right? And how do I bake this cake? So there's a mass adoption happening, right? And what you just presented to me is something that just I'm an outsider. You please you can tell me. That seems like a dream coming true. Something that we know from movies since the 70s, right? From Star Wars. Something that walks around and that you can talk to, you can ask questions to, so you can interact. And this what you just presented to me is an interface that is inviting, that is friendly, that is something that I would like to have, right? So there's not I'm afraid of, so something I would like to invite and have in my home and would like to interact, right? I have a little one, she's 2, so and I'm thinking about not only the price tag, which seems very reasonable for this kind of technology that you get, but I'm curious about what you can do or what she can do with it, right? What kind of interaction she can have? Can she ask questions? Is there some companion that you can ask and explore the world with you, right? Some parents are working long hours and they don't have the capacity to. Why is the sun there? Why is it raining? And having here someone, an interactive companion, I think this is. I'm very excited. And how is that for you? How is that for you to see this?
Yeah, it's exactly that. I think the it's we really made this robot to be a robot we want to have first, uh, because I think it's the first requirement if you want to bring robotics technology to people and AI. If they need to be lovely, so people want to have that. Um, and that I think what for me what's the most important aspect of ChatGPT was not really GPT but chat. Really the interface they build to use AI was amazing. And for me, it could be less less efficient, but the interface is really good to use it. And now everyone do this kind of chat. Um, but still, it's it's for tech people or people that can use a computer, but not for children, for older people, and so on. And for example, like you said, this robot is really made as an open platform, so people can build application with that. So you have access to a robot that can move around, see, interact, have a camera, you can audio in, out, and so on. And for myself, when I use this robot, I took it at home and build application for my daughter, like you said, just because I want to have fun with Gen AI, and I don't really, and I want to build something for people I love, and this is a good thing to just spend time playing with AI and still, and at the same time, building something that is fun with my daughter. I can spend time with her, reading stuff on this robot, and hopefully at the end you can build an app to that can be useful for her as well. Uh, on the long term, really, what I expect with this robot is Right now there is a wire, but we are preparing a wireless version. Really a robot that you can take with you like this. You can take and you put it in your kitchen while you are cooking, and then the robot he is in the kitchen so he can start doing stuff adapted to the kitchen, and then your child can take it and go in their room, and the robot will understand that he's in the room because he has a camera and can look around, you see that there is kids and so on, so you can start doing stuff for kids. And because it's AI based, it has infinite amount of patience, which is really important when kids are asking a lot of questions
Yeah.
and so on. So it's really, I think there is a lot of potential in this really small robot, just because it embed generative AI in a physical form uh,
Today.
today. Yeah, but we need a large community to make this happen. It's more it's more like iPhone. If you have no application on the iPhone,
I
no
mean,
interest.
everyone is talking about the robotics moment, the iPhone moment of robotics. I think it's a phrase I heard at least 10 times. And why is the iPhone so important? It's not about necessarily about the phone, right? It's about the App Store enabled people to build stuff with one device, right? So you have a multiplier, and I mean there is a community, right? And here I think this is what you guys are aiming at is now I buy this. I'm interested in doing something with it, and I can because it's open source. I can do something on my own, right? I have this little one, and I have this robot, and now I can see how is she, what is she, and how can I accelerate or strengthen some of the things that she's interested in, right? So why not
Mm.
writing an app that is understanding how to sing? Why not writing an app that is able to memorize all the fantasy figures she's coming up with, right? So or plans or whatever, right? And the kid can present it to the cam to the robot and say, "What is this?" And I think this is exciting times, and I'm very
Yeah,
very happy that you're giving me such insights.
yeah. While working on this robot, I was trying to let my daughter play with ChatGPT voice to see how it happened, and so she has really a natural conversation with this AI. It was natural for her to speak to this, and just we played for I don't know half an hour doing stuff, well, whatever. Just 2 days later, she come back and she said that she wanted to speak to the phone because she wanted to ask question for her house, how to decorate, how to I mean to do stuff, and so it's really interesting to see that maybe with a robot like this, she will take it and put it on the room and see, look at what I did, how do you think, what should I do, and so on, naturally. So it's really something I expect to see with her. And it's working already with ChatGPT voice. So with a robot like this, I guess it's a multiplayer on this.
Curious to see if this is because we are in tech, right? And that means we believe and hope, and that we're working on these kind of projects because we hope that we can build a better future, that we can build a future. Because there's a lot of skepticism, and a lot of these skepticism is also valid, right? Um,
Mm.
but in the way I see things, and I think a lot of builders is maybe we can free a lot of kids and bringing democratize a lot of things, right? Because access
Mm.
to education, access to a lot of beautiful things that are happening in the world are blocked by circumstances, by yeah, the way society is built and where people are positioned in the society, right? So maybe you
Mm.
guys are doing something here that has a greater impact.
Hopefully, we will see. But yeah, I hope it can give access to the power of AI to more people
Mm.
because it's a simple interface to do that. And also, as a robot is really a simple robot, so you don't need to be a roboticist to make it work. Not at all, because the robot is pretty simple, and you can move your head and so on. So you have a lot of degree of freedom to do interaction,
Mm.
but it's really hard to break this robot. We didn't. So it's even the first prototype we didn't manage to break it. So it's really a robust robot.
Nice. This is good,
So I
especially with
so
kids, right?
yeah, and my yeah, and when I actually filmed the first reaction of my daughter with the robot, and she was really directly playing with the robot, but also really soon taking the head and moving around and doing a lot of physical contact with the robot. I was not expecting, but yeah, it was okay. It was okay, and it's a robust robot to do that.
This podcast is also educational for people who are trying to build some of these kind of companies, and maybe you're listening. So that means a demo in your lab is nice, right? But at one certain point, you do need to go into production, manufacturing, to a fair or exhibition or conference, and people would like to touch your product, right? So maybe you
Mhm.
think about this. It's not like a sealed room where everything is nice and it works perfectly, the demo, but then you're presenting it to people. People naturally would like to see how is that working, how robust is
Mm.
that, what are the extremes. So you don't need to be a 5-year, 10-year-old kid. Adults are working like this as well. So another little short educational snippet here. Thanks for taking the day. Today is a very important day for you guys. I wish you a lot of luck. I will do my best to spread the word because this is something I'm
Thanks.
curious, inherently interested in. And how old is your daughter?
5 years. 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years funny. So my
Mm.
my my one is just 2, and she's uh, in that mode where everything needs to be explored and everything needs to be touched and everything needs to be moved around. So curious to see. Thanks for giving me so many infos and telling your story because I think it's very important in robotics these days. And we'll see how we. I mean. I say this very often. Maybe we talk in 1 year, and you will tell me how today changed things for Pollen and Hugging Face and for you.
Yeah. Well, we hope to have a major impact thanks to Hugging Face to be being pollen at scale. Really, that's something we expect, and to have thousands of robots and not hundreds of robots
Mm.
coming from our creation. So it's really
Millions,
something. Yeah.
millions of
Well,
robots.
a billion, yeah, maybe not year, not the next year, but in 2 years, yeah, okay.
Matthieu, thanks for being here, and I wish you a beautiful day today, and thanks for taking the time.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Take care.